Hi there. Today we're going to have a look at part 2 of the tutorial series, and we're looking at simbrief, flight planning and configuring the CDU. Once again, of course, we're in the 777 from Flight Factor, this wonderful aircraft. I don't suppose I really need to tell you that much about simbrief, because if you've been using it for a while you'll understand exactly what is required. So you need to create a flight plan. We're going to fly, well, we're not actually going to fly, but we're creating a flight plan from Cardiff to Madrid, as you can see there, and you've got to choose your aircraft, which is the 777-200ER. One thing I will say to you is make sure that you've got simbrief configured in pounds, the same as your aircraft, okay? If you don't do that, it causes a world of hurt, believe me, trying to convert things from kilograms to pounds so you can put it into your aircraft. I mean, you can do it, but, why bother with that if you can, just set up simbrief for that purpose, okay? So we've created the flight plan, we're generating the flight plan now, which will have all the factors required for you to program the CDU. There's a flight plan, you can see it from Cardiff down to Bristol, and here is the PDF, which has all the information regarding your flight, waypoints, etc., times on waypoints. But for programming the CDU, the one that you require is the one in the middle, the EGFF lemd01.fms, and that is what we're going to be using for our co-route in the CDU. And you need that data there where it says load sheet. You need to make a note of all of that data, or if you've got two monitors like I have, you just move it over to the other screen. So we'll power up the aircraft now, and unlike a lot of the Boeing aircraft where you start on the left hand side and you go down, up across the panels, with the 777 you can just go down, down, down. So at the moment we've got battery power on. I've initiated the ADARUs up at the top, and I've turned on the emergency lights because we're only on battery power. I'm calling for the GPUs as we did in the previous video using the top down menu, and you can see the GPUs lighting up there, and I've turned them on. More lights come on, and the wonderful thing about the 777 is that it has a lot of automated processes, and it's going through a self-test routine. It's testing itself, turning on the CDUs, and there's 3 CDUs and all of the glass screens. That noise is the stick shaker along with alarms and fire tests and everything. So like I said, the wonderful thing about the 777 is it's very, very much automated. You can see here now that CDU3, this is the one in the lower pedestal, has come alive, and as I've said earlier, make sure simbrief is in pounds, the same as the aircraft, and that'll save you so much time and trouble when configuring the CDU. So here we are. I've moved all of my information onto my second monitor there to the left, and so we're just going into the FMC, and the first thing you need to do is set your initial position, so position initialization. You need to make sure that what you're reading there under GPS position is correct. I'm just checking that I've done the ADARUs, I've turned them on. Yes, there they are, ADARUs or IRUs, so we know that that's correct. We'll just go to the position reference page, just check those coordinates there are the same, and they are, so we'll put that in the scratch pad at the bottom and then click the line select key to the right of that, and so INS is set. Now we're looking for the company route, so it's EGFF LEMD01, as I said, from simbrief, and put that into the company route, so where it says co-route, and you'll notice that there are 4 pages, 1 of 4. So let's have a look at our legs page. There we are. It's even put the XMO 1 Bravo in for me, but I just need to check that and check the runway for the wind. So it's runway 12 and an XMO 1 Bravo. You can see it says actual next to it, and now we are selected, and you need to go to the execute button to execute that. And similarly for our arrival. We have an arrival, and if I'm correct, I think it was 32. Yeah, ILS 32 right. Select that, and it's a Nanti 3 Charlie arrival. I always say Nanti, it might be Nant, but I always say Nanti 3 Charlie arrival into Madrid. We just need to check some discontinuities. There's one there at Tiva, so put that in. And the way to do discontinuities is that you highlight the waypoint below and then just click it into the empty boxes. So that's all of that done now. So there are several different ways of configuring weights and balances, and you can even mix and match as well. So you can do it by voice, you can do it by the keyboard, so you can type things into the CDU, but it's where you get your data from. So I'm reading the data from my simbrief, and I'm going to fill in all of this now based on what is on my simbrief load sheet. So it was saying 230 for flight levels, but I've decided to go to 27. 23 seems a little low for this aircraft. And now, of course, cost index was 88, and that was indicated on my simbrief load sheet. Now we've got to put fuel in, and once again, make sure you do everything in pounds. And if it says, like for fuel, I think it says something like 42.2. So I could have rounded down to 42, or I could have rounded up to 43. So you need to have a look at what things are saying, and either round up or round down. Here you can see zero fuel weight, I believe 370, which gives me my gross weight, and reserves for the 777 are always around about 5.5 or to 6 tons. I got 6 tons in there. Fine. In the future, you'll be able to request all of that perf initialization stuff. That's not been configured yet in the aircraft, but soon you'll be able to do that. Just click on request it, and it'll just fill all that in for you automatically. We're just going through takeoff reference now. So flaps 5, it's giving me my V speeds, so I just turned on the reference speeds and highlighted those and made sure they're correct. Next is the CG, and finding your CG can always be a bit of a task, but it's available on one of the load sheets in the EFB, or you can find it somewhere else. So just doing the wind, it's 120 at 19 knots, so you can see the rain is actually going in the direction that I'm going to be taking off on, or should I say the rain is moving in the opposite direction to what I'll be taking off on, so that is correct. So the winds are definitely straight down the runway, but at 19 knots. So just making sure everything's configured correctly, putting that in there. I will locate the CG in a moment, and I'll show you how that's done. And now we go through this awful dance.
I am here.
You may load the cargo holds.
No problem.
So we've got to go through the machinations of this now, where you contact them and get everything on board and everything open and closed and whatever.
Listening.
Still not my favourite way of doing things, but
not this time.
But there is another way of doing things as well, and I'll show you that directly, and that is via the EFB as well. So
I am here.
You'll see that shortly. We'll just go through all of this malarkey. So I suppose really we've gone through some of the most complex parts of this aircraft already in the first tutorials.
How can I help you?
Actually taking
Please
off
disconnect the
and getting in the air.
On the left side.
Certainly.
Taking off and getting in the air is relatively easy. Even starting the engines is really straightforward.
How can I help you?
And
ground. We need some equipment connected.
And you'll see
Make
all
your
that.
choice.
Fuel truck, left wing.
Okay.
Right.
Can I help you with anything else?
No.
Anything else?
No, definitely
Not
not.
at this time.
So we've got the fuel trucks because we know how much fuel we're putting in now, and so we can load all of that. And as I say, there are several ways of doing things with the 777, and sometimes it can get a little bit confusing as to what is actually working here. So I just checking a couple of things here. I also need to make sure that the APU is running as well. Getting ready to switch over power. Right, so we'll go to the EFB now, and we can see a number of things there. And we'll go to, I can't remember now, which one was it? We'll go to airplane, and we'll look at loading, making sure that the loaders are there and the fuel trucks are there. And here we have a good way of checking that everything is working fine and you've got everything right, because you can just fill in things from simbrief, right? And then you click on each of these, load, and it will load everything onto the aircraft. It's really bizarre because you're asking ground crew to
load
load.
sheet is here for you.
Yeah, so I've got a new load sheet. You're asking the ground crew to do stuff, but then you have to back it up and make sure you've done it in here. Or you can come straight to the EFB and just load the aircraft from the EFB here, which I've done another video just doing that, and I will put that up as part 2/A or part 2/B, whatever, in a day or so. Anyway, I'm going through everything, I'm checking everything here, making sure that all of my weights and balances are correct. So I'll also find my CG so that, you know, we can really get moving. Okay, and the funny thing is, the more you do this, the quicker you get at it. It just, sometimes you think, oh gosh, there's got to be an easier way. So I'm just going to stop here a moment. So in the blink of an eye, we've got our CG now. Here we have it. I'm just going to input the CG, which is 2.9. Yeah, there we go. So it gives us a trim of 4 on the trims, on the stab trim. And I think that's about right. Now takeoff speeds are deleted, so once again you've got to check your speeds, because every time you do an alteration in the CDU, it actually kind of deletes things, and you've got to go back and make sure that it's all set right. So everything is set now, and we're ready for departure, I think. So it's just a case of making sure that the aircraft is started up, that everything's good. So I'm just going to go through. Where you've got an orange light, it needs to be a white light, so it's quite simply a case of, you know, clicking on everything here. So window heat, hydraulics, set hydraulics to auto. Yeah, and like I say, unlike other Boeing aircraft where you start on the left hand side and you go down and then up and then down and then up, with the 777 you can just go down, which is, it makes things a lot easier. I think you might miss some things, but then again, you know, if you follow your flow, you should be good. Okay, so we'll have the beacon lights on shortly, and we'll call for pushback, and then we'll be ready to get out of Cardiff. So it'll be a case of taxiing down to the runway and departing. So there you have it. I hope you found this tutorial useful. I know it's a little bit bitty around the CDU and the weights and balances and what have you, but as I say, it's a combination of two methods of doing that appear. Part 3 or part 2A will be out shortly. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, and we'll see you all soon. Cheerio.